Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, today we are going to talk about the data coming out that points at this spring being an incredibly hot housing market.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the information that came out, home builder confidence, and some other key data, and the fact that available listings are starting to drop. I'm going to wrap all this together and talk about what this means. Okay. So we'll start off with this. Here's an article from the NAHB, National Association of Home Builders. U.S. home builder confidence at 7-month high in November. Survey says, Juana, this is not, they don't randomly survey people. The home builders grab data from people that walk in, intent to buy, number of people coming in. They take it from all over the country and they put this data together. It's forward looking. Why is it forward looking?
Well, because it's about intent, right? So these are people who are coming in and they're looking at homes and they're looking at homes down the road because that's the way new construction works, right? New construction very seldom is there standing inventory of the specific model that you want on the lot that you want and so on. So because of that, it is forward looking. So people will put down a deposit for the home that will be built. Okay.
Here's some key points from the article. The NAHB Wells Fargo Housing Market Index rises to 46, highest since April. Republican election sweep boosts builder optimism for regulations supportive for industry. Industry faces challenges from labor shortage, high material costs, and mortgage rates. Now let's talk about two of the things in here. If they believe that there's going to be more people buying, but then on the other end, it's going to be harder to build because materials cost more, there's labor shortages. They're not just going to be able to build out a home for everybody that wants to buy a house, right?
No, but that's not really the intent, right? The idea is that they have more buyers than they have homes because that's how you keep prices up, and that's how you can justify with every new phase having a price increase.
How does this work with a bunch of for-profit entities trying to make money, and at the same time you have people saying affordable housing, everyone should be able to buy a house for $1,000 a month mortgage payment, this is ridiculous, but then you have home builders who wouldn't make any money if that was the case. So what is going on here? Why doesn't the government just step in and force companies to build 5 million houses next year for people?
Well, so let's kind of backtrack a little bit. One is a regular business, regular commerce and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Something that everybody's engaged in. Even if you work for the government, you are involved in some sort of commerce, right? Because you still go out to the grocery store and still participate in the economy. And then the other one is a political talking point.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so a political talking point is a whole different ball of wax, and that's completely separate. And as far as politically speaking, there are all kinds of programs, and they try to address that in ways that give them whatever positive press and votes that they're interested in getting, and that's neither here nor there. As far as the builders are concerned, even if they wanted to, they couldn't build 5 million homes. There simply are not. There's not enough labor to do that. There's not enough material to do that.
There's not.
And above all, we don't have the land. And you're thinking, well, but the U.S. is mostly unpopulated. Well, yeah, but let's face it, people don't want to live in those unpopulated areas. People want to live in the populated areas where there are economic opportunities. And in those places, the land is not available to meet that sort of building quota, if you will.
You have to have the ability to get electricity, water, sewer to an area. It has to be close enough to a city center where there's stuff to do, jobs like that. The land has to be available for builders to buy. Builders have to go get money and buy. Builders want to build on places where they feel they can get the most profit. So they will pay a little premium for some land that's maybe in a more desirable area, meaning closer to a suburb of a big city versus going out in the middle of nowhere and then hoping they can sell the home. And they want to sell in places they know they can make the sales.
Right.
Now, on the backside of this, everything that goes into building a home, the builders themselves don't own any of that supply chain. Like the sheetrock, they source that out to companies that make sheetrock. And then the sheetrock companies don't actually, they just import all of the things and bring them to a factory where they put them together, make sheetrock, and sell them. So there's numerous supply chains that have to like work. And between the resources, the labor, they can't just, not just the labor of like people putting the house together, but everything in the process. It's severely labor constrained.
Well, it is, and of course, everybody's a subcontractor to the builder, and the builders don't have their own crews anymore. So
Yeah.
this is much more complex than it used to be.
Okay, here's another quote. National Association of Home Builders, Wells Fargo Housing Market Index rose to 46. Now remember, this index, Juana, is 0 is 0, and 100 is the max. It's an index. So 50 would be, if you look back 10 years, anything 50 is exactly the middle. Anything above it would be more, and anything less is less than. So 46 is basically pretty darn normal.
Right.
It's within 4 of being normal. And what's amazing is this is at a point when those people going in to buy are still paying maybe 6 to 7% interest rate, right? You would think that if interest rates were 2.5% like they were 3 or 4 years ago, that it would be like 90. Everyone, oh my God, I want to go buy a new house because my payments could be super low. What's interesting on this was this reading, all 28 estimates, 28 companies who estimate, they kind of guess what it's going to be. They were all wrong. They were all too low. Their average guess was 43. It was like higher. So the builders are obviously seeing something out there.
Right.
Okay, here's the next one. This is the highest. This is sales, current sales, the number of people who are going under contract and potential buyers, like people coming in to buy, were both higher. This expectations for sales over the next 6 months shot up the highest since April 2022. That was a super hot time because remember, interest rates were starting to go up and people were trying to like buy something and lock in a rate like as soon as they could. Some of these home builders were locking in rates like really far in advance so that the people wouldn't walk later on. They're like, okay, we'll give you 4.5%, 5% now, but that's, it's only good for 9 months or whatever, like, right? So this is pretty hot. I mean, this shows that potentially something's going on, right? Okay, here's another quote. With the elections now in the rearview mirror, builders are expressing increased confidence that Republicans gaining all the levers and power in Washington result in significant regulatory relief for the industry, said Carl Harris, a custom home builder from Wichita. This has reflected huge jump in builder sales over the next 6 months. One, not pulling out the federal government, setting it aside. Are there any, I can't even think of national are there national regulations that the federal government is stopping home building, or is almost all of this local? Like, how much of it is local and how much of it is just the builders just can't build enough?
Okay, so building is a local issue. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's the beginning, the end of it. Building is a local issue.
Okay. The
only thing that's not a local issue is interest rates. So interest rates are national because remember, lending institutions are national. So that's where the national part comes in. And as far as the lending is concerned, we've had a couple reductions from the Fed for the regarding interest rates, and that those have sort of trickled down to mortgages. But remember, mortgages are a lot of times forward-looking, so the market had anticipated these, so didn't react maybe as warmly to these as maybe some people would have expected. If anything, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen actual interest rates go up, even though the Fed rate went down. And I've actually been tracking it for the last few days, and like every day when I look at it, it's up like 1/10 of a point, and I'm like, what is that about? So I thought that was kind of interesting.
The national inventory and resale, we've got more charts to go through, by the way. National inventory and resale is declining. It's declining here in Las Vegas, just started. With a peak of this is literally the best time to buy. It was actually last month in October was the best time to go under contract. It's just going to get harder from here on out. Why would there be such a high demand for new homes if there's all these resale homes available, like more than there were last April, say.
So there aren't all those resale homes available. I think that's the point of
Okay.
it, right? There really aren't. And what resale homes there are, a lot of them are going to be going off the market temporarily for the holidays. Just in the last few days, I've signed a whole bunch of temporarily off the market on listings of people saying, "Hey, it's Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas, Hanukkah, all of this, and we're just not interested in having people come through the house while we have family and all this going on. So we'll come back on the market in January, but right now we're not going to do that."
Okay, the next thing we're going to show here is this chart. Now, this is from the Consumer Federal Protection Bureau, and this is the rate of mortgages in default going back to 2008. As you can see, it peaked in 2010 at 5%, and we are at levels today that are literally we've never seen. Like, as Trump would say, nobody's ever seen anything like this. They're so low, no one's ever seen this. No one was talking about foreclosures in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and even in 2020, when the number of, these are 90-day lates. You miss 3 payments, you're 90 days late, right? It's literally might as well be zero. When you say, but what about this? Looks like maybe 0.6% or something. 0.6% is just somebody went on deployment and forgot that their whatever bank account was making their mortgage payment, or somebody got a job transfer, or somebody died, and then this is not a structural. There's not a problem with 0.6%. There's almost no chance of foreclosures with that rate. What's really interesting was I remember that we've had people come in and say, "But Nevada, it's Las Vegas, has the highest foreclosure rate." I guarantee if you Google Las Vegas or Nevada highest foreclosure rate, that'll pop up. If you go into Google, type that in, right? So this is the actual Nevada chart for 90-day lates wanted. Does this surprise you? That first of all, during the housing crash, which was, you can see back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, really, we had more than the percent in the US, but we actually have less. So here's the question I have statistically. How is it possible? The dark blue line is Nevada, the skinny blue line is the US average. If you look all the way over to the right, people, and you look, the dark blue line is below average. How can Nevada be number 1 in the nation for foreclosures when it's not even in the top half? Like over half the country, it's below the median. Well, we have less people making 90 days late. It's a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
It's about clicks.
It's about clicks. I did this too. This was pretty fun. I pulled up Florida because the crash bros are just, the market is saturated with listings. It's not. They still aren't back to, they're just comparing Florida the last couple of years, which was super hot. Mm-hmm. Listings are up 126%. Well, they were a third of what they normally are. So yeah, they're up, but this is Florida. Florida is basically almost dead on the national average. There's zero chance that any of these will result in foreclosures. Now, what I actually did was I found this chart. It got emailed to me. This is the foreclosures and new bankruptcies. If you go over here to foreclosures, that's that dark red line. Bankruptcies is the pink line. The bankruptcy number over the last 4 years is the lowest it's been on this chart, which goes all the way back to 2003, so 21 years. Mm-hmm. The same with the foreclosures. Once again, we have a foreclosure rate nationally that's non-existent, might as well be zero. How much of this is because 42% of all homes are paid off? There's zero chance of being foreclosed, right? And then of all the rest of those, 80% of those that do have mortgages have less than 5% mortgage and super low payment.
Right. So it's a lot of that. Look, there's a lot of equity out there, whether it's in paid off homes or homes that have a lot of equity either through a substantial down payment or because they've had the home for a while and they've been paying it down, or through appreciation. However that's materialized, people have a lot of equity. When people have a lot of equity, then people are going to hang on to that home. That means that they're going to make their payment. They're going to figure it out. They're going to work it out with their lender. life events do happen, and I understand that, but people figure it out. And at the end of the day, if they can't figure it out, then they can always sell the home. And once the home is sold, then the proceeds, after the debt is paid, goes into the seller's pocket.
Right. Yeah. The idea that everybody's upside down or whatever, and they're going to walk away from the mortgage is not almost. Even if you bought your house last year, you still have probably enough equity to sell it potentially. Oh, there was one more thing in the article that I wanted to talk about. The deals that new home builders were doing are rapidly going away. Meaning remember the new home price you go in is not necessarily what the last home sold for. A builder will say our homes are selling for $700,000, but then they'll let you buy the house for $675,000. But that doesn't mean they lost $25,000 in there, right?
Right.
That amount of discounts are rapidly going away, meaning over the last few months, how much they've had to change their price or offer incentives are basically starting to go away.
They are, but that's for a multitude of reasons.
Okay.
So first of all, it's because interest rates have come down, which means buyers have a little more wiggle room. Mm-hmm. It's also because, depending on the builder, the end of their fiscal year has passed, so they're no longer trying to make their numbers. So it's a multitude of reasons.
A lot of builders, their fiscal year ends like September 30th.
Some are September 30th, some are October 30th. And so because of that's why you have that. We know that it's the same thing. Like, remember, if you've ever bought a car from a car dealer, when it's the end of their fiscal year, or when they've got the new model years coming in, then the current model year, they've got a discount so that they can make room for the new ones. It's kind of the same sort of thing. The builders try to make their numbers so that their reports for Wall Street look really good because they've moved so many units, and so they're willing to maybe not make as much of a profit because there's a different incentive for them.
There's 28% more sales happening right now nationally than there were the exact same day last year.
Okay.
That's a lot. It's substantially. If that goes into the spring, home prices went up about 7% from this time last year to the spring nationally. Mm-hmm. What's it going to look like if we have 23% more sales, like 23% more demand, and we don't get more listings? It's just people going to home builders, sucking up all those homes, people going to the resale market, just buying everything. Do you think it's going to get super competitive?
I think it will get super competitive. I think we have a lot of uncertainty in the housing market next year. The uncertainty comes from the interest rates. It comes from the changes in government. I don't normally want to talk about that, but I think that's kind of the elephant in the room. We can't really ignore it. There will be changes as far as the federal government is concerned. So you've got changes as far as maybe the amount of labor that you have to construct homes, depending on governmental policy. You've got changes as far as perhaps some shrinking of government, so that might allow for some movement as far as people who maybe work for the government and who maybe are seeing that their positions might be cut in the future, and maybe they'll be proactive and look for other employment elsewhere, so you might have some movement that way. So there will be a lot of changes next year.
Yeah, I would say, well, first of all, this idea that because there's this Department of Government Efficiency that Elon is sort of advising, where they're going to get rid of a bunch of government employees. Those federal government employees are mostly in Washington, D.C. and the surrounding areas. Also, the plan is that they're not just like on day one out of a job with no pay. There's like a severance. They're going to be getting money for a while.
Right. They talked about a 2-year severance. So this is not going to be an instantaneous thing, but I think that a lot of people are going to be proactive and start to examine their future and maybe start making choices. The other thing is that a lot of things are going to go back to the states, so maybe there might be some shifting in funding, and maybe there might be some different ways that states will choose to operate. So there will be a lot of changes. Some changes maybe we've heard about, some changes we haven't. And all of that just means that there will be movement in the housing market, because change usually means movement in the housing market.
What if we got these like 2 million government employees that are going to be axed and taught them how to build houses? and make sheetrock and pour concrete. What else? What am I forgetting? Roofs. They have to do roofs and windows. That's pretty much, if you do those 4 things, that's a house.
Yeah.
Right?
Plumbing, electrical, those are helpful too.
Whatever. All the other stuff, the guts, plumbing and electrical, can't forget those guys, right? We got the lights on here. It's all electric. That would be great if those people could stop, if they could do some housing stuff and help out, build some houses. Maybe builders could build some more.
Well, but I mean, look, this is an opportunity for all kinds of programs to spring up where maybe the trades will get some life breathed into them, and maybe more people will take up trades and understand that it's an honorable way to make a living. You can make a good living. You can produce something that you can be proud of. So that would be really nice. That would be good for everyone. Not everybody is made to code. There are people that are good at electrical and all kinds of other things, and those are trades that we need. And we need them not only to build homes, but to maintain our homes. So those are very valuable skills to have.
Right, I agree. Okay, so bottom line is, what's the bottom line for you for the next 6 months?
Lots of change. Stay tuned. Keep watching our videos because we will be on the forefront of the changes and bring them to you. And we'll talk about them and find out what you think about them too by reading your comments. So remember to leave your comments, like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.